Coming up on Unpacked, the second chapter.
One thing that I cannot talk about enough is the things where I've seen people, the small kids, drinking energy drinks, and it's something that some sort of a norm where people are exposing themselves to too much caffeine at a young age. And for me, it's a very I've got a very touch and go relationships with energy drinks now, because I've seen what it can do in terms of your heart, your blood pressure.
Previously on Unpacked.
Late February, I started feeling tired. I first started feeling some difficulties when I laid on my back. I couldn't breathe. I literally had X-rays, and everyone was saying there's nothing wrong. But I thought to myself, something that will just pass. And then on April 28, 2020, on 2:00 in the morning, I woke up, and then I couldn't speak. I couldn't.
Like your mind is there, but.
Yeah. So like I was struggling to speak. I was struggling to, like literally when they asked me for my medical aid number and it's on my phone, I couldn't open my phone. I couldn't, because literally numbers it's almost like there were hieroglyphics. Like I couldn't remember anything after the X-rays and the scans. The doctor said you had a minor stroke.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, just in terms of while that was happening, was it just that you knew something's wrong or that you suspected a stroke?
I would never imagine that there was something wrong to the extent that I got a stroke.
Yeah.
Everything depends on me speaking, me writing, me, So literally, the more I discovered that I couldn't do these things, the more I suffered mentally. The biggest battle was more mental than physical. Like if I tried to read subtitles, it got better with time. And then I tried to read a paragraph, and then I'll get lost on the fifth sentence. And then I tried. It's almost like a practice. You try, to put yourself into all these mental exercises.
Would you say you are almost 100% recovered?
Similar to Bianca, I'm 95%. I don't think you really recover from something like this. All you do is try to be better.
Want the full story? Watch the original episode on my channel. Find the link in the description down below. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Unpacked, the second chapter with me, Relebogile Mabotja, where we catch up with guests from Unpacked and find out how they're doing, where they are, and also answer some of your questions that you've left in the comments down below and all our social media platforms. Follow our social media platforms on @Unpacked Show, that is on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, and our Facebook page, Unpacked with Relebogile Mabotja. Today's guest was on an episode titled I Had a Stroke at a Young Age. We had two guests at the time. Prince had joined us in studio, and today he's back to tell us how he is doing. Prince, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, Lebo. How are you?
I am good, and I'm loving that you look well. I think the episode we had together in that conversation, it still felt like it was quite fresh what had happened to you.
Yeah. I think with time, and also just a little bit of mental health training, and also going into therapy, and also my family support. I'm not 100% where I was before. but I feel like I'm getting there.
And when you say before, you mean before the stroke?
Yes. So basically, like I said on our episode when we had that conversation, it's more of like a mental and physical. It's a mental and physical battle at the same time. So there are some in terms of my physicality, everything seems to be good. Everything seems to be good now. But there are some patches that I feel like still need to heal.
And what are some of those things you feel still need to heal? Is it around the acceptance part of what had happened to you and where you are? Is it around the impact of the stroke and maybe how it left you feeling?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all three. Basically, sometimes it's also a confidence issue. Sometimes it's for me, it's always a battle to even try to hold a conversation. Sometimes I get so confused, and sometimes I'm just super tired. Before the stroke, I didn't have to deal with all of these things, but I'm learning and I'm going and I keep on going.
What was the reception like to your episode coming out?
It was. Some people didn't know because, of course, I've got friends from high school or friends from university. People didn't know what had happened to me, and they reached out. So many people reached out. I mean, there was so many. I had so many conversations after that, and I think the reception was very good. And of course, you get a little bit of attention, which is something that I'm still learning to cope with right now.
Do you, in any ways, getting the attention and maybe having people want to have conversations with you, sometimes wish you hadn't made your story public?
No. I do not regret the part of telling my story in your platform, because there are so many people that might have gone through something like this, and they still doubt whether or not you will be able to live, whether or not you are able to keep on going. I mean, for me, I don't regret coming to your platform to share my story. I think there's so many positives than there are negatives.
So from the time that you and I sat and had a conversation and the episode going out, quite a bit has changed in your personal life.
Yes.
Bring us up to date with that.
Well, I think the biggest one is the birth of my son.
Congratulations.
He's 2 years old. Like we were discussing offline. These kids run. And he teaches me a lot of patience and a lot of and also keeps me young again. I run. We go to the park. We play ball. So it's a very big adjustment. The biggest one I could say after our episode. And yes, we also my wife and I we had a traditional wedding. It was beautiful. So we just wanted to catch up in all the ceremonies that needed to be done, and it's one of those things that I'm really proud of. And yeah, everything seems to be going well. I feel good. I'm in a very good space, and I'm grateful for every day that I get to just live. Hey, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
In terms of, we touched on your development. I don't want to go yet into the mental health because I really want to get into things like speech. We know it's strokes, and the more information that's coming to light, people have varying degrees of physical challenges. Where
Yeah.
are you in your development specifically around the physical issues you've had to deal with?
Yeah, so I think the biggest one is my speech, and also there's some parts of just a general understanding of language and putting together sentences. Sometimes I get confused halfway through a sentence or halfway through a train of thought, and sometimes I'm just too tired to make sense of it all. So sometimes like I can be withdrawn. Sometimes I just and sometimes it works out very well. It depends on the context. It depends on where what I'm talking about, and it just differs. It's like riding a wave. You don't know whether or not whether tomorrow you'll be good, because you're not gonna feel this. You're not gonna feel as good as you are today. You're not sure whether tomorrow you're gonna feel that kind of excitement or that kind of motivated. Sometimes the days are they are varied in terms of your experiences. You feel good today. Tomorrow you're super exhausted, and in the inverse as well. Sometimes you feel exhausted today, and then tomorrow you're like a jab. You just keep going.
So in terms of your mental health, what does a hard day look like for you?
Yeah, I think a hard day is I feel overwhelmed, even if I'm not doing anything. I don't have to be engaged in anything that's anything that needs my creativity, my mental capacity. I just feel overwhelmed. I feel exhausted. I feel I feel there's some parts of me that become sad for no apparent reason. I and then tomorrow it might be different.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think those are the parts of recovery that people might not see. Those are the parts of recovery that are not a factor, because all that people really ask about when you've had a stroke is, okay, so it's speech, so this, but there's that other mental battle, like you say, of being confused, mind being tired. And I've spoken to a few people who suffered strokes to say it forces you to rest your brain.
Yes, it forces you to also not be too hard on yourself. I think the biggest thing that I learned after the stroke was to be patient with myself. Sometimes, if I feel like I'm not, I might be talking, and I might be having a presentation or just having a general conversation, and I feel like I'm doing terrible in this time, and then people will be like, "No, it was beautiful. You spoke so well. It made sense." And because that's a very big battle. It's almost like a tug of war in your brain. The tug of war in your brain, the one that processes what you are saying, and the one and where you want to speak, where you want to actually make sense. So it's one of those things that I've had to learn. I've had to learn to deal with, and be patient with myself. To now say, okay, this is what I'm feeling now. It doesn't mean that I'm going to feel that like this forever. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to express myself the way that I want to. So it's one of those things that you get to see that, okay, maybe it's time for me to just relax and focus. And sometimes I get home and I have to excuse myself to say I'm tired, I'm exhausted, and then I just need to have an early night, just for me to be able to gain my strength again, to deal with whatever comes tomorrow.
Throughout all of what we're talking about, though, you still managed to study and get your honors. How is that even possible?
It was it was one of those things that you like. It was one of those things that I had to challenge myself to try to go. And I think after the stroke, the biggest thing that I needed to do was to submit a marketing report. It was a very big task because at that time I couldn't read, I couldn't write the way that I wanted to. So it was a very challenging space and a very challenging thing to try to attain. But I'm very glad that I challenged myself and I managed to push through to the finishing line.
Listen, I think you're inspiring so many people with what you've shared, that you yourself know you're not at the best place you could have been, but you still did it anyways and were able to be in a position where you now have your honors. So has this whole experience forced you to have a better work-life balance? And how do you manage that? Because from the people I know who have suffered strokes, they put very strict boundaries on how they manage their lives because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest one that I really that I managed to really get out of this experience. To understand that everything has this time. Everything has, and you need to be to perform in different levels of energy at any time. So you are able. So I'm now able to map out my day. I'm now able to map out my week and say, okay, now I need to rest. Now I need to also have some time, my energy with my family as well. Sometimes I just decide to just switch off and say, this weekend we're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything. We're just spending time with the family. And it's one of those things that I didn't invest time in before the stroke. So one of those things, I think, is one of the biggest blessings that came from my experience was getting to really invest time in the things that matter. So that's the biggest win for me.
One of the things you shared when we first sat down was that before you were diagnosed with a stroke, you did go to doctors and they found nothing. Do you now have a relationship of trust with the medical space? And what can you share with all viewers that you've learned from that experience of your own?
Yeah, I think before that hectic period in my life, I think I didn't place value in developing relationships with trying to find out about my health, going to the doctor. I'm that person that took time to try and self-heal, self-medicate. So now I think my medical aid has seen a couple of the drops have been coming in a consistent rate. To if I feel like I'm working, if I feel like my physical state is not well or my mental state is not well, I just go to the doctor. 2 days, if I feel like, and it's something that that had to be developed over time, and it's something that came after the stroke, where I'm now able to go to the doctor regardless of whatever, regardless of whether or not I'm feeling okay, or I'm able to now say I can for a checkup, just for a 6-month checkup, an annual checkup. It's something that I'm able to do now, but before it wasn't a thing for me.
I think all of us can learn a lesson or two from that, and meaning like responding more immediately, because you never know what's what when it comes to managing your health. In terms of the education on strokes, do you think there's more of awareness about it, since that time?
I think, yeah, because the more conversations, the only way that we can educate each other is the type of conversations that we engage in. So I think because for me, having gone through that experience, I'm also now aware of the actual conversations around the strokes, and how they build. And I think there's so much misinformation on strokes. Sometimes when I could be sitting next to somebody, and then I say, no, I suffered a stroke. They think, wow, are you that old? Or are you, because people think these things are specific to certain demographies. So it's something that people do not understand, that high blood pressure is regardless of your age, regardless of this is something that can be real for you. You need to be able to be in touch with your status in terms of your health, and whether it can be your physical or mental. There's so many things that accumulate that gives you that like for me with stroke, there's so many things that were building up for me, and then it culminated to a stroke.
As in so many factors that contributed to you getting a stroke, which of course then means once we all move away from the idea that certain things are for older people, you'll start looking at other things like managing your stress and all the things that go along with more preventative measures for strokes. We had some comments that came through and questions that I want to share with you and ask. So the one on YouTube, Ira Cozy Ingrid Hortenser 1166, who said, thank you for sharing your stories, guys. I had a stroke last year at 23. I can indeed relate. And also we have Babalo Mosala 7215, who said, I suffered a minor stroke at age 22 back in 2015. One of the worst experiences of my life. I am so grateful for the gift of life. And these are just two comments from the many young people who have experienced a stroke as well. What are some of the stories that have come your way of people who say, oh my gosh, I also am a young person who had a stroke?
Yeah. I've seen other people like who it goes all the way down to teenage years.
Teenagers,
wow. Teenagers where somebody would be athletic, all fit and everything, and then something goes wrong. So it's one of those things that I've now tried to understand of my immediate surroundings, and also the conversations that I've also been privy to. It's so many things that we were not aware of in terms of what builds up to a stroke. Sometimes people will struggle with high blood pressure, or sometimes there's so many things that, like I'm saying, there's so many things that build up to whatever a health condition like this that comes into play. So some people might not have the same story as mine in terms of high blood pressure, sodium intake, just about the amount of salt that you take, and some people might not have the same experiences, but I've seen I've heard about stories for people that actually went down to 10 years. I think the youngest person that I heard a story about was 17 when they got a stroke. It's one of those things that we're not really, we're not, our eyes are not really open to. And people, when we talk about stroke, when we talk about high blood pressure, when we talk about these things, people are always thinking, I'm gonna deal with it when I'm 40, when I'm 50, and something like this. But it's a reality. It comes down again, regardless of regardless of your physical state. You always need to be in touch with your just do health checks. Just be consistent in trying to see what your body is going through. It also goes down in terms of the food that we eat, in terms of whether or not we exercise. A simple walk, a simple jog, or something that clears your mind. It's very important to really be in tune with your body and your mind. I cannot stress it hard enough.
And then we had one that said, I have pain on my left chest, and this is from @Faith Matebula 994. I have pain on my left chest. I went to the hospital and a doctor said I'm too young for an ECG. Now, neither I nor Prince are medical doctors,
Yes.
but maybe Prince, you can comment on if a person is concerned and the doctor's saying, you're too young, what would you suggest that they do for themselves?
Yeah, it was this. I think it's the same story that I had to go through. I had to go to different doctors and try to and just be, and if you're not happy with the first opinion, get a second one. If you're not happy with the second one, find another person that can help you. Because I think if something was if my first doctor was able to see something, or was able to just to be, I don't know whether or not doctors take us that seriously to say, if you're now saying to a child, okay, you're too young for an ECG. I'm not sure what an ECG is, but it's something that's very important for the patient to really invest the time to go and find other opinions. If after your fifth or your sixth opinion, maybe then you can relax. But I would not say relax on the first doctor's opinion.
Definitely check out a second opinion. And again, I'm going to reiterate, a story like that shared by Prince is unique to him. Do not go online to deduce what might be happening for you. We will put the details after the show of where you can get information on strokes and the symptoms and things like that. But please, if you're not feeling well, go to a medical doctor. And if you're not satisfied with how seriously they're taking you or ordering certain tests, get a second opinion. But you definitely must advocate for yourself. Prince, you have been sharing, obviously, you're in a new phase of your life. It still can get difficult, but you've got an honors, you got to celebrate your love and have another child. What are the final things or the last thing that you'd like to share with all of the viewers?
Yeah, I think it's very important what we're talking about in terms of just be in touch with your health. Always be be consistent. If you're not feeling well, go to the doctor. If the first doctor doesn't give you what you're looking for, find another one. But it's something that's very important. And one thing that I cannot talk about enough is the things where I've seen people, the small kids, drinking energy drinks. And it's something that some sort of a norm where people are exposing themselves to too much caffeine at a young age. And for me, it's a very I've got a very touch and go relationships with energy drinks now, because I've seen what it can do in terms of your heart, your blood pressure. And I think for me, the stories are always, I think the stories are always inspirational. The conversations that we keep on having, they also build me as well, just as much as they build the next person. So it's, I thank you very much, Lebo, for this platform where you are able to really talk about things that really matter. And I hope these conversations keep going. And we have the guts to ask the questions that are not comfortable for our generation, but we need to be able to ask those questions and see the people and see that the doctors see and seek out the information. Do not just like you said, Lebo, do not just Google to find out whether or not or what symptoms you are having. Just go to the doctor. Just have a conversation with the doctor. Be there and be very consistent in finding out the state of your health. I cannot stress it hard enough.
Prince, thank you so much for your time, for coming back to share with us. Thank you for your openness, your vulnerability. I really wish you all of the best and just continuing on your healing journey. I know it's ongoing, and that you start to maybe not accept that the part that you're never going to be your old self again, but to start embracing the new you, because I think a stroke is so life-changing.
Yeah.
You will never go back to being who you used to be, even if your health gets back on par. But this is a new version of you. And just love to your family and everybody else that's been impacted. And thank you again for just continuing to raise the awareness by sharing your story.
Thank you very much, Levo.
And thank you to all of you for watching, but also for commenting. Don't forget to let us know who you want to see. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, be the first to find out when a new episode is available, and all of the other content that sits on this YouTube platform. Thank you again for tuning in to second chapter of Unpacked with me, Relebogile Mabotja. As always, I'm excited to see you another time, so make sure you tune in. Next time on Unpacked, the second chapter.
On days that things are not good, obviously I'm unable to show up. I don't know how I've done it, but I've seen my partner do it, where he shows up for both of us. On good days, I'm obviously there. I'm showing up as a partner. I'm doing my best, you know. I'm still learning as well how to navigate the days where I'm not okay and still be able to show up for my partner, because there are days where he needs me. We are a team in this thing. It's not just about me or just about him. So I think we've developed a strategy of, we know that when it's not a good day, we give Nobuhle a rest and she takes care of herself. And we push back whatever needs to be done for when I'm okay. So it's a struggle. I won't lie, it's a struggle. I'm still also trying to find my feet with this. We are also in couples therapy, which helps a lot. Some things that I hear in that therapy session, I'm like, is that how you feel? But I've got to appreciate and hear what he has to deal with. It's not easy to be in a relationship with a person that struggles with mental health.
Is there anybody that you would love to see on the second chapter? Maybe there's a question that you think I should have asked, or something that was burning after you watched and you wished you could have the guest back. Maybe you were confused, or maybe you felt like, there's definitely more to the story. Comment down below and let us know who you'd like to see, which story you'd like to revisit, which guest you'd like us to invite back for Unpacked, the second chapter.